I'm Sydney.
And I'm Zach.
And you're watching the Midnight Jamboree.
So the weather outside is frightful, and one of our favorite things to do when it gets a little dark and stormy outside is to curl up on the couch and watch some movies, and our preferred format for nights like that is VHS. So we've picked a couple of our favorites, and we're going to share those with you today. You want to go ahead?
Sure. So my first pick is going to be The Frighters. I love that case cover. It's just so amazing.
It's beautiful.
But
Can't get that on DVD one.
You probably can.
You can, but still.
But just look at how beautiful it is.
Oh, it's a lovely. Oh, it's lovely.
So my first pick is The Frighteners, directed by Peter Jackson, starring Michael J. Fox. It's one of those great movies that we love watching every year. We usually watch it around Halloween, but this is a movie you could watch anytime during the year. Like I said, starring Michael J. Fox. He unfortunately has an accident where all of a sudden he can see ghosts, befriends two ghosts and uses those two to help him run a scam where he is a paranormal investigator. Basically, he has them haunting houses, goes to these houses, tells them this is the worst haunting I've ever seen, charges these poor people an arm and a leg to be able to fix their hauntings. And eventually he comes across an actual haunting from an evil ghost who used to be a serial killer. So he has to use both his friends and the skills that he's honed to be able to try and fix this family's situation with a former serial killer who's in love with this woman's daughter. It's a whole mess, but it's such a great movie. And like I said, it's directed by Peter Jackson, the guy who did the Lord of the Rings movies. So definitely a far cry from what those movies actually are. But as far as I know, this is actually what he wanted to do with his career before he started doing that. He wanted to do horror movies. He wanted to do spooky, paranormal, supernatural movies. So it's definitely a great one. I'm not the biggest fan of the Lord of the Rings movies, but that is something that I'm just like, yeah, Peter Jackson is one of my favorite directors because of that.
Yeah, so it's different than, those King Kong. It's more in line with kind of the previous stuff he did, Dead Alive, things like that. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, to have something like The Frighteners from Peter Jackson is great. I first saw The Frighteners on a dark and stormy night when I was in Australia on TV. I had no idea what it was, hadn't heard of it at all. And I was like, man, Michael J. Fox is in a movie? This is great. And it's got
He's in a movie.
Well, I mean, he didn't do as many movies later in his career, so This is something that I really enjoy.
Yeah.
And just the kind of the final scene where, you kind of have Don't Fear the Reaper covered by the mutton birds just starting, and it's just, that to me, when I hear that, it's Halloween.
It is.
And I love that so much. And obviously Jeffrey Combs in that movie is just ridiculous. Love you, Jeffrey Combs. Alright, so my first pick is one near and dear to my heart. For your Back to the Future marathon.
Double feature.
You got When Good Ghouls Go Bad, starring the great Christopher Lloyd. And I love everything about this movie. Obviously, mostly because it's R.L. Stine's When Good Ghouls Go Bad.
Which just makes it 20 times better when you see that name on there.
And it's obviously that, Fox Family Channel, 90s Halloween kind of thing, which I just can't get enough of, and I'm so sad that ABC Family's...
Freeform now,
I
think is what it's called?
Yeah, Freeform is 13 nights of Halloween. I want 31 days of Halloween.
Yeah, we get 25 days of Christmas.
Yeah, gosh, more than that. Now you get like a bajillion days, and if you're Hallmark, you're getting like...
You get it starting in July and going all the way through February.
It's just like, where is my 31 days of Halloween Freeform? I want it. I need it. Back on this one. It is perfect. I love everything about this movie, as I said. And I don't know, there are very few movies that I feel capture the spirit of Halloween as well as this one does. Because you pop it into the VCR, it's Halloween time. You know it's Halloween. I mean, just from the cover. You just look at that jack-o'-lanterns on the back there. It is perfect.
It's a great movie.
And a couple years ago, we had some serious flooding in Arizona. It was probably the worst that I've ever seen. I haven't lived here my whole life, but I've lived here a majority of my adult life.
I've lived here my whole life, and we've never had a rainstorm like that I can remember, where we walked out of our apartment, and you walk down the stairs, down the sidewalk into our parking lot, and there was at least 1.5 feet of standing water in the middle of the parking lot. Super hard to drive. I mean, I know you tried to go to work that day.
Yeah, I tried to go to work, and I got less than a mile away, and I just turned around and went right back home, and my car horn squeaked for a couple months after that because I foolishly drove that far in. This was like 3 feet of water. It was
And it took you, what, an hour?
An hour to get less than one street over and back. So I called in, I was like, not coming in.
Yeah, shutting down the freeways, just
Oh,
all
it
kinds
was-
of.
it
It was
was
bad,
horrible.
and it was like that for a couple days too.
Yeah. So came home, popped this one on the TV, had some pumpkin iced coffee, and it was a pretty good day. So when good girls go bad.
Alrighty, so my next pick is going to be The Burbs. It is one of my all-time favorite Tom Hanks movies, one of my favorite Joe Dante movies, and it is just perfect. It's one of those new people move into the neighborhood, they're a little bit weird, super foreign, and
Super foreign.
super foreign. They are.
Courtney Gaines is super foreign.
He is. And it's just the two best friend neighbors who are going together with assault rifles and a shovel and just going to figure out exactly what's going on next door. I mean, there's a cast of characters in this movie. Carrie Fisher, of course, is in it. Corey Feldman. He is like that spacey, super stoner teenager who's obsessed with partying and food and just has some amazing one-liners about pizza. I mean, it's great. It's one of those ones where when it's stormy outside, you're a little bit paranoid about things, so watching this kind of makes it even better because you're super paranoid about what's going on next door, and it's great. I mean, the Klopeks are, like I said, they're super foreign.
They're super foreign,
And
the Klopeks.
They are, and
Especially Courtney Gaines with like his weird like facial hair
Right.
and just kind of how they dressed him up. And the late great Henry Gibson, who I love in everything, from the night Dracula Saved the World all the way up to Luck of the Irish, and of
Right.
course Blues Brothers and all those other good things that he was in. And of course Rick Ducommun, who passed away fairly recently, within the past few years. He was funny. Blank check. What? Rick Ducommun, you're the best. And we deeply miss you. Alright, so my next pick is The Witches of Eastwick. I love this movie. Nothing better for me on a rainy day than a little bit of Jack Nicholson. Look at those eyebrows. So, for those who haven't seen Witches of Eastwick, it's got everybody in it. Cher, Susan Sarandon, Michelle Pfeiffer. It's really a product of the time. And this is, when Richard Jenkins really wasn't kind of Richard Jenkins. It was just when he was still nobody really knew who he was. But now, everybody knows who he is. And I'm very, very happy about that fact. This is from the dude who made Mad Max. And if you're kind of looking for something along the weirder, not spooky in the same way end, but
more
still a little
paranormal.
to a degree. I wouldn't say this is a scary movie by any means, but it's got enough of that in there that, you gotta love it.
I mean, it has its moments of a little bit of like a shock, but it's
Yeah.
nothing like, oh, I'm not gonna be able to sleep for the next 6 days.
Oh
kinda
yeah,
scary.
it's nothing scary like that. But Jack Nicholson is the devil you always knew he could be. Witches of Eastwick.
Alrighty, so my final pick is going to be a little bit of a twofer. It is the Amityville Horror and Amityville 2: The Possession. And I know you're going to say that that's not fair because
It's cheating.
It's two
Technically
movies.
to pick two movies.
But honestly, I feel like these movies go hand in hand.
Well, yeah, that's a franchise.
But still, I mean, if you've never heard of the Amityville Horror or the Lutz family, you've obviously been living under a rock.
Yeah.
I mean, this has been a major thing since 1975 when this family, the Lutzes, moved into the home of the former DeFeo family, where their son had unfortunately murdered his parents, all of his siblings, and they moved into the house and were supposedly dealing with possessions and hauntings and all kinds of horrible things going on to them. A couple years ago, they actually did an interview with Ronald DeFeo's attorney, who said that this entire thing that happened to the Lutz family was actually all made up. It was part of their proceedings with Ronald DeFeo to have them pretend like the house is haunted so that they could use that he was possessed or believe that he was possessed by something going on in the home to claim that he was not guilty. Unfortunately, he was found guilty, charged to 6 counts of lifetime sentences for murder, for killing his parents and all of his siblings. And the Lutzes have since then, been shamed in the paranormal community. But still a great movie, still a great story, even if it isn't fully true. Obviously, that's the first movie. Second movie is all about the DeFeo family.
It's
And
not, called the DeFeo family for reasons.
it's the DeFeo family. All about what happened to them, all about what was going on in that household when everything happened with their son before he killed everybody. It's definitely
little wiggy, incestual weirdness
a little
happens
bit.
in this movie.
I don't know if that actually happened in real life or
Yeah.
not. It may just be something that they were trying to amp up the movie a little bit. But still such a great continuation of this story because it kind of gives you a little bit of an insight into what the Lutzes were talking about in the first movie. This was one of my first realm into the horror genre in general. Watched it with my mom when I was like 7 or 8 years old. We decided, you know, yeah, she is a huge horror fan as well. But, you know, anytime that it would rain, we always wanted to sit down and watch horror movies, and this was always one of my first picks, was the Amityville Horror. Didn't see 2 until much later. I was probably about 17, 18 when I finally saw that one and all the continuations, but Amityville Horror, the original one, is just all-time favorite horror movie. One of my favorite movies to watch when it's super stormy outside, because it's just that perfect little bit of a spooky vibe, a little bit of a, you know...
Hell, you mean a little bit of a spooky vibe?
It's scary.
Made me not want to go to the bathroom for like a year for fear of... Get out! Get out! Oh my god, how are you saying a little bit of a spooky vibe? That's like that understatement of the century.
Right.
It's a terrifying movie.
I love it.
It's a great movie.
20 years later, I still love it. I still get scared by it.
It's such a good movie.
It's amazing.
Alright, so my last pick, Night of the Twisters. She hates this movie. Hates it. And
it's not that I hate the movie, it's that I hate tornadoes.
You hate little Devon Sawa.
I do hate
little baby Devon Sawa.
Can I keep you? No, you cannot keep me, little baby Devon Sawa.
He didn't know what he was saying when he said, well, I love this movie. I grew up in Texas, and that's, you know, Tornado Alley for the most part right there. So I remember not many days, but enough days in my childhood where there was tornado watches. So I was always fascinated by that. That's still one of those kind of pipe dream things. If I ever, you know, want to, I'm going to be a storm chaser.
You can do that on your own.
Yeah, that's
I'll
something.
stay home, propped up, bowl of Cheetos.
I've always been fascinated by storm chasers. That's something I've always kind of had an affinity for. And this is based on a book, which is based on real events. And it's always kind of one of my favorites for a dark and stormy night. And, you know, can't get much better. Super hard to find out there. They put it out on DVD a few years ago. It's way too expensive, and you can find VHS copies kind of lying around here. I've got a couple that I bought at Goodwill, and I'll buy any copy of this movie I find.
I mean, we find them at Goodwill when they have half price days for like 25 cents.
Yeah, I'm the salvation for Night of the Twisters. I feel this is a perfect movie in the fact of what a 90s made-for-TV movie can be. Not perfect in the realm of actual movies, but it's, to me, you are perfect. Night of the Twisters. Love Actually reference.
Alright guys, so this is just a few of our favorite movies to watch when it is dark and stormy outside. Definitely leave a comment below, let us know some of your favorites as well. I mean, I know we definitely have a much longer list than the 6 that we showed here. So, definitely make sure that you hit that subscribe button as well as the notification bell so you know the next time that we upload our next video.
Yeah, and we're on Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, Pinterest, Facebook, all those good places, so don't forget to follow us on there.
And we'll have all the links below for that as well.
Of course. Well, I think that'll do it for this episode of the Midnight Jamboree. I'm Zach.
And I'm Sydney.
Bye, guys.